Heyo! Greg Branos for the Coach Speak Index. What's up, guys, gals, y'alls? How you doing? If you were wondering, man, really wonder if this is a banger episode. Got a long day of work, or I've had a long day of work. Just really need a banger Coach Speak Index episode. Well, you are in luck. It's banger time today. Should we trademark banger time? I don't know. I'm imagining some company in some industry already has that trademark. But you know what? Let's check into it. Banger time here on the Coach Speak Index. You know what else is banger time? Is Underdog Fantasy, where I just wrapped up 150 Best Ball Mania drafts. I'm done with Best Ball Mania. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the season. And you can get ready for the season on Underdog Fantasy by using promo code CoachSpeak when you sign up, and you can claim a special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. And let me tell you what to do with that bonus cash. You do some drafts on Underdog, and when it gets to the 13th round, you take Jaleel McLaughlin, running back for the Denver Broncos, a guy that Sean Payton cannot stop talking about this entire offseason. Just really loves Jaleel McLaughlin, and he won't be a workhorse back for Denver, but he has a very locked-in role there as a running back who's going to see probably 9 to 12 touches per game in this joker role that Sean Payton likes to exploit. A lot of juice. The metrics look very good for Jaleel McLaughlin. Really quite something with the ball in his hands. And looking at the preseason usage of how much they used him, where they used him, he got a goal line carry. He got runs up the middle. So they're exploring what they can do with Jaleel McLaughlin. It's not just the bounce stuff outside or get him out in space with short passes. We're going to see him deployed in multiple ways, I believe. And in the 13th round, I mean, you're going to get a lot of usable spike weeks out of Jaleel McLaughlin. Before we get into some clips from this past week, I'm just going to run down some injury coach speak here real quick. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said, "We'll see if Hollywood Brown can return week 1. Reid's "we'll see" labels are typically bad news for players when they're attached to a date or a certain time frame. So color me pessimistic there that we'll see Hollywood Brown week 1. Jahmyr Gibbs dealing with a hamstring injury. And Dan Campbell on August 14th said, "I think we're going to be fine here. I think we'll be good." Then on August 20th, Campbell said, "Our plan is to get him going next week. He's trending the right way." Dan Campbell has a 90% reliability rating on Injury Coach Speak, and he is also highly reliable when he says that a player is trending in the right direction or in the right way. So I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to be ready week 1. The Baltimore Ravens tight end Mark Andrews was in a car accident. John Harbaugh said he got out without a scrape, and then he said he has a very minor thing. And he said, "Don't worry about Mark. He's going to be fine." Harbaugh has a 75% reliability rating on Injury Coach Speak. He is more trustworthy in this area when he takes a concrete stance like he did here. So I expect Mark Andrews to be fine. Bills wide receiver Curtis Samuel is dealing with turf toe. Head coach Sean McDermott called him week to week. McDermott has a 75% reliability rating on Injury Coach Speak, but his day-to-day and week-to-week labels are quite unreliable. So can't really trust his label there. His hour-to-hour labels, by the way, are reliable. We have one instance of that. I believe it was last year. He called Josh Allen hour-to-hour. And Josh Allen ended up being fine. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said that rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is day-to-day right now. Shanahan has an 85% reliability rating on injury coach speak. And then Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald said that they don't know anything more about running back Zach Charbonnet and what he's dealing with. He said, I think we're still trying to figure it out. His back locked up. So we'll kind of see where he goes from here. I don't think it's major, though. Might want to go out and buy Kenneth Walker right now while you can. We talked about him on last week's show. Let us go ahead and get into quarterbacks. This first clip is Atlanta head coach Raheem Morris on why he didn't play Michael Penix Jr. in the Week 2 preseason game.
I'm curious, going back to what Delay was asking about, when it came to Michael Penix specifically and not getting him out there to have any live reps today, I'm curious what else went into that thought process with him specifically, and what you saw from him throughout maybe the preseason, the first preseason game, and into this week.
Tori, it was all about that, right? Last week we wanted to get him out there and get a feel for what he was in live game, which we kind of already knew. Wanted to see him be able to answer questions, talk about it on the sideline, go out there and execute, make mistakes and know what to do. Like when he looked the wrong way, getting right to the check down. He did a lot of those things a lot, but it took a hit last week, should have changed the protection. He's able to clearly communicate those things. I mean, we seen enough last week of Michael Penix and the live stuff, and now we had the chance to mitigate him in practice. And we give him a bunch of live stuff out there in practice that you do everything that you would do in a game other than get hit. But we feel really good where we're at with Michael. We feel really good where we're at with the other guys that we set, and we treated that the same way. But Mike showed us last week enough that we don't have to play him in the preseason.
People got really up in arms about that this week. Oh, this organization has no idea what they're doing, which might be true. I think their general manager, Terry Fontenot, I always mess up the pronunciation there, but does not seem like the sharpest guy in terms of running a franchise, and just kind of the way that he deals with media, and just all the senses that are activated by him, that are going off, or it's just not a good vibe. But here, I can kind of see it, because, well, first of all, there's the long injury history with Michael Penix, right? And this is a quarterback that they want to be their quarterback of the future. This whole mess of them bringing Cousins in and not telling him that they were kind of intent on drafting Michael Penix. They were locked into this guy. They really wanted Penix. And that became a whole mess. But really long injury history there. It would be disastrous if he suffered another nasty injury in the preseason. And there's also a lot of just very vanilla defenses that you play against in the preseason. Whereas in joint practices, in practices against your own defense, like, those are still good reps. Not quite live game reps, but Penix has played in some big games. He's had a good deal of experience. He's an older rookie. So I don't hate this move of, putting him in bubble wrap. They could tell just kind of immediately, all right, this is the guy that we envision being our quarterback of the future. We're good with everything that he showed us, and let's just put him in bubble wrap now and get ready for the regular season. All right, let's head to Las Vegas. This was in the post-game press conference after the Raiders game against the Cowboys in preseason week 2 here.
Antonio, felt like Aiden, up until that last throw in the to start the fourth quarter, was It's kind of in command, playing efficient football. How much does what happened, how it ended, kind of weigh into this whole thing?
I mean, everything. I mean, you can't take one, you can't take the good and not take the bad, right? So, wish it ended well for both gentlemen, right? And it just didn't. And we'll look at it, we'll evaluate. They both had opportunities. Aiden had 20 attempts, and Minshew had 21. So, about as balanced and as we can get it, and we'll look at it. Obviously, you saw what our plan was tonight: throw the ball around, let these guys showcase what they can do, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell threw that pick six there after he had led the Raiders to a touchdown drive on a night where Gardner Minshew had played pretty terribly and had 2 or 3 dropped interceptions. And we know now that Antonio Pierce named Gardner Minshew the starter for the Raiders. Something else kind of important in there to point out is Antonio Pierce saying that their game plan was to let these guys throw the ball as much as possible. They wanted each of them to get a lot of attempts in the game just so they could evaluate them. And that is very atypical of what the Raiders want to do on offense. They want to run the ball a lot. So when we're looking at preseason usage and play calling and that type of thing for the Raiders, like this entire thing has been an audition for these 2 quarterbacks so far. So I wouldn't really like read too much into their the preseason usage for players and like I said, the how much they threw the ball. This is going to be very much a run heavy team this season and probably a bad team on offense. Running back time. Let's go down to Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel talking about the running back depth chart and having 2 running backs in Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane listed as co-starters.
I believe the last 3 years you had 2 running backs atop the depth chart as co-starters, kind of. Can you describe your balance there between maybe a planned approach and an adaptive or reactive approach as it goes through the season?
No, I mean, who says we have to stop at 2? maybe we can just have 4. No, I think you have to let the players determine who gets the ball and how frequently and how much they're in the game. And that's very important. I think the cool thing when you have a position group that on the front end, by NFL standards is very, very talented. One of the most, if not the most talented of, that you can remember or you've been on teams with. You don't worry about how that is going to unfold. You let it unfold, and it's always very obvious. You can tell by how people execute their blocks and their belief of the player carrying the ball, and you have to be able to be open-minded to how it plays out. So I think, the residuals of a deep room you can see on each individual player. I'm seeing, for instance, some of Jeff Wilson's best ball that I've seen him play. I've worked him out as a player in North Texas back in 2018, and some of his best stuff has been in this camp, and I can't help but attribute that to the overall talent of the entire room. So it's something that you just keep coaching. You keep seeing how much guys' games can develop. You don't put a ceiling on that because guys will continue to surprise you in a positive manner if you let them. And we just know that it's a strength of ours can be handing the ball off to some pretty good backs, and we just go from there.
Sounds very much like a hot hand situation down in Miami. Also, real quick quote from Mike McDaniel last month on Devon Achane. He's expanded roles, expanded different ways that he can get the ball. He had a taste of success, and fortunately for us, he's not satisfied with that. And we saw this in their preseason game the other night where they were using Achane out wide. They used him as a receiver, and he caught a pretty nice pass down the sideline. As a result of that usage, I like Achane so much in best ball. It could be tough in managed leagues where it's only records that get you into the postseason and not overall points. This guy is so talented, and yes, all these concerns that people have about how durable is he. Well, he packed on muscle this offseason to help with that. Okay, this is year 2 for him in this system. That's really big, right? For rookies coming in, they have a learning curve, even at running back, of learning a system and getting comfortable in it. And then a system as intricate as Mike McDaniel's. Now he's in year 2, more comfortable in the system. And we've seen the talent. Like, just bet on talent. This guy is uber talented. So I still like Devon Achane. Love him when he's going in the 3rd round on underdog and in best ball drafts. And in home leagues where he's going later, scoop him up. He's real good, and Mostert is a good value where he's going right now in the later kind of middle rounds. I believe he's around 93rd overall on underdog. He's going to touch the ball. I don't know how long he'll last. Everyone has these concerns about Achane, but Raheem Mostert, look at his injury history. He has not been the most durable guy, and he's coming up on 33 years old near the tail end of the season as we get into the fantasy playoffs. I just love Achane, man. He's just so damn good. All right, New York Jets. Here is Jets head coach Robert Saleh on rookie running back Braylon Allen.
It was a 3rd and 1 with Braylon Allen gained 4 yards. Is that kind of a picture postcard of why you picked him?
Oh, he had a couple. I mean, all of them did really, but Braylon had it was a 3rd and 5, and he had this, or 3rd and 6, and he had a violent 4-yard run where he just moved the entire pile. But yeah, we picked him for a lot of reasons because he's actually really good out of the backfield in route running. He's really good in protection too. We think he's an all-around good back, and he's a very powerful runner too, and he's displaying that down and down out.
Yeah, very powerful back for sure. Huge contingent upside if something were to happen to Breece Hall. But when Breece Hall is healthy, I think we see a lot of him. He is their bell cow. He's their bell cow workhorse. He's both. He is. Whew. My God, Breece Hall. Good Lord. What a talent. He is my probably favorite running back to take in fantasy football this year. Christian McCaffrey, I get it. He's got to be the first running back off the board. But to see what Breece Hall did last season with the quarterbacks that they had helming that offense, and he still smashed. And this was coming off I believe the ACL. He's another year removed off of that now. Aaron Rodgers is there, hopefully for more than a couple plays this season. Offensive line is better. They have better weapons overall on offense. Really good defense. I mean, this should be a very good team, and they should be leading in their fair share of games, which means they're probably running that rock to milk it out at the end and getting Breece Hall involved. You have a guy that talented, you gotta just feed him. And I don't see Braylon Allen eating too much into Breece Hall's workload. But if something were to happen to Hall, as we said, this is one of the best running back handcuffs that you could have. Dallas Cowboys. Here's offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer on their running back depth chart.
On Zeke at the running back room, how difficult will those decisions be just to fill those spots?
Yeah, it's a deep room. I mean, you can't look at the depth chart and see how many guys we got there, with I think Rico Dowdle's having a hell of a camp, Zeke's another one of those guys that we were talking about, right, where you're going to be smart, a little bit like Brandon. He doesn't need every rep. He knows how to read inside zone from the front side, covered lineman to the backside 3 technique. He knows all that stuff. Again, then Malik Davis is having a hell of a camp, excited to get Royce back, hopefully, here in the next couple days, and Deuce back in a couple days. But it's a really deep room, and that's one of the stronger competitions, like I was talking about earlier, that you get excited, you go and you watch the film, and you're like, damn, these will be some hard decisions. And that's what we want, right? We don't want it to be easy decisions, because it means that we've got the right guys, and they're performing at the highest level.
All right. It's a really deep room, guys. You believe in that? One of the stronger competitions. By beat reports, Rico Dowdle looking very good, looking like the best running back on the Cowboys roster right now. And we got that quote of Mike McCarthy, not too far back, saying that Rico is definitely one of the lead guys in that room. We know how much they love Zeke. So I see those two touching the ball the most. And, Rico Dowdle is just the better running back. He's the best running back in this room right now. Now, the real question is what kind of goal line work Rico Dowdle will get. If he gets goal line work, my friends, it's over. It's a wrap. It's the Vince Carter GIF thing from the slam dunk contest. It's no mas. I'm saying Rico Dowdle is a good pick in fantasy, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. Chicago Bears. Should I tease this or should I just play the clip? I'll tease it a little bit. It's about wide receiver Velus Jones, but we are playing this in the running back portion of the show. Here we go.
Matt, with Velus going from, I think, with the 2s earlier in the week and getting some 1 reps today, what has he shown you to earn those starters reps?
Just toughness, and he's able to handle that position. You would think that, hey, come a receiver and then going back to, to the tight or the halfback spot is you got to have some toughness in there, and he does. And he's able to get the reads down, and he's slowly getting it. It's not easy to learn how to run the outside zone and the inside duo play and all the plays that everybody runs in the league. That takes some time. And then really about the protections. He's learning that. I know he was up here talking about that, but he's getting those too.
This might sound silly, but just the way that it was positioned on Hard Knocks, like if he's making this switch to running back, is that a potential, if he makes the roster, is that a reclassification for him of position?
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet to make that declaration, but certainly the more flexibility you have, and we're using our skill sets, and my hats off to the offensive staff and Shane to be able to do that.
Okay, so Eberflus says, I don't think we're there yet in terms of reclassifying Velus Jones as a running back, but this is something that I've been tracking and I've had in the private Coach Speak Index Discord, where a couple weeks ago they were trying Velus Jones out at running back, and they were asking, what direction are we heading in with this? Is he going to be just a running back for you guys? And said, well, we're kind of just taking it a week at a time here. We're not sure if we're still going to do this next week. We just want to see how he does with it this week. And now he's getting a second week at this, and he's getting a lot of touches. At running back, and he's a fast, explosive guy, just not a good wide receiver. So yeah, this muddies the Bears' backfield even more now in terms of touches. It's been looking like kind of a running back by committee there with DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Caleb Williams also has some wheels, so he's going to take off some. And then Velus Jones, I mean, not looking great for DeAndre Swift. ADP, the short yardage and goal line stuff was already a concern. I don't think I took any DeAndre Swift shares, maybe one in Best Ball Mania. Did take a lot of Khalil Herbert at the end of drafts, and I don't love them getting Velus Jones involved because that's just going to kind of siphon from the backfield as a whole there. We will end this section with the Los Angeles Chargers. Here is offensive coordinator Greg Roman talking about the depth chart behind J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards.
Where do you think the depth chart stands behind J.K. and Gus at running back?
To be decided. Right now it's a competition, and it's kind of like what I tell J.K. and Gus during the season before games. Hey, man, whoever's got the hot hand, So the opportunity's there. These guys are going to get a lot of opportunities this game. We're watching them in practice all week, and this will be a big day for them.
Did anyone jump out in the game? Because obviously, like you're alluding to, that position's really difficult to evaluate when it's not live action. So did any of those guys behind, Gus and J.K. jump out to you in the game, Jarrett or
Yeah,
Elijah?
I think they all did. They all did well. I think they're all there's everybody's got certain things they can improve, but they're doing a really good job, and we'd like to get them some more opportunities to tote the rock, and everything they do when they don't have the ball is very important too. Pass protection, routes, all that stuff. So it's an exciting week for them.
Okay, well, that was before that preseason game. We saw what happened in the preseason game, and we saw rookie running back Kamani Vidal, who I've been kind of touting for months now, since the NFL draft, came in, looked very good. And Greg Roman there talking about the stuff that they do without the ball. Kamani Vidal, very, very good in pass protection. I can't remember off the top of my head. He was either the best I think he was the best rated. If he wasn't the best rated, it was the second best rated. But I believe the best rated running back in pass protection in this 2024 running back draft class. That is going to help a ton in terms of climbing his way up the depth chart. I feel very good about Vidal claiming that running back 3 spot at the very least to start out. And then with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, I mean, who knows how those guys are going to look. Edwards without the benefit of having Lamar Jackson, who really opened things up for him. And then J.K. Dobbins coming off his, what feels like 18th bad injury. And, everybody's rooting for a nice comeback story for him. I can't get behind a running back who's had that many just really terrible leg injuries. So yeah, I'm still in this Kamani Vidal camp. He's been cheaper leading up to that preseason game that we just saw him in, and people are starting to take a little more notice now that he performed well, that he looked good, showing all the stuff that they want. And Greg Roman, a few weeks back, said that this is a meritocracy in the backfield. And this has been the way that it's always been with Jim Harbaugh teams when he was in San Francisco as a head coach. Very fluid depth chart. Whoever the best players were, that is who got onto the field. So, yeah, still believing in Vidal. If you see him at the end of drafts, go ahead and snag you some shares over there. All right? Cool. Wide receivers. We will start it off with the Los Angeles Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh talking about Quentin Johnston's development.
Just with Quentin, I know we talked about him on Saturday. Obviously, some bright spots in that game.
Yeah.
Today's practice, he has the drop that leads to the interception there. How do you sort of evaluate, and just speaking generally, how do you evaluate development when there's always going to be, obviously steps forward and steps back along the way? How do you sort of look at the specific things that are happening, but also take, a broader view over how like a player is developing over maybe a longer period of time?
I mean, you're seeing the training, you're seeing the practice, you're seeing the you're seeing the development as it goes. I mean, it'd be like watching the Olympians, we all just see the finished product, and it's glorious and it's unbelievable and it's scrutinizing, some of their practices or training, would be, something that we didn't see, we didn't watch. So, I just, see the gains, see the improvement and everything's even the coming games, are learning experience. That game Saturday was a learning experience. And I thought he really did well, really acquitted himself well, was raging off the ball. Did you see the routes today where he was just raging off the ball, blowing by people? Getting separation. That's what you asked me what I evaluate. Yeah, for a receiver specifically, it's getting off the ball. Can they get off the ball? Can they release off the line of scrimmage? And then the next is, can they get separation? Then can they increase separation? Can they get to the spot and the right spot and then make the catch? And then after the catch, be able to go and run with it. Those are the things that any receiver is evaluated on. So just, but there's times it really looks real and like it's supposed to. And we just keep building. So far so good. So far so really good with Q. In my mind.
There's times it really looks real, like it's supposed to. We'll just keep building. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a finished product yet in year two, even though he's raging off the ball in that preseason game and raging off the ball in practice. Ooh, he's got a long way to go. Yeah. But Jim Harbaugh's view of this guy is different than our view of him. And I have talked about this previously where there have been a couple press conferences now. One was a press conference with offensive coordinator Greg Roman. The other was an appearance by general manager Joe Ortiz on Kay Adams, Up and Adams show, where they reference the game that Quentin Johnston had against John Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines a couple years ago in the college football playoffs when TCU beat Michigan. That player that went off in that game, Quentin Johnston, like huge game, had a ton of catches, yardage. I think he had 2 touchdowns, like really just torched Michigan. That has left an impression on Jim Harbaugh. The Quentin Johnston that we all see is the Quentin Johnston rookie year from the Chargers last year. The Quentin Johnston that Jim Harbaugh sees is the guy that torched him in college. And that is his view of this player, is a guy that can torch you, a guy that has a ton of yak potential and someone who rages off the ball and blows by guys. So I do think they'll try to make Johnston a thing, but if he fails like he did last year, then they may just cut bait with him. All right, Detroit Lions. Here is head coach Dan Campbell talking about Khalif Raymond and the wide receiver 3 spot in Detroit.
And I want to ask you a logistics question. We spent a lot of time talking about wide receiver 3, and I'm just wondering, with Khalif Raymond, I mean, it seems like it's a guy that has universal trust in this building. Why do we not talk about Raymond as your number 3? Is it simply a body type issue?
Yeah, well, yeah, I hope I haven't been the one who have, like, he is receiver 3 right now. I think the idea has always been, we love Leaf as a returner, and Leaf brings a different skill set to the receiver position. He's got a little gadgetry, he's got some quickness underneath, and he's a returner. And to maximize both, boy, you'd love to, he's 20 plays a game, 25 plays a game, and so we would rather not play him 65 plays a game, but we will if we have to. So, yeah, he's receiver 3 right now, and that's fine. But that's why it would be nice to have somebody step up, because that just helps the room, and I think it makes everybody a little more potent. That's all. But, yes, we trust Leaf very much.
It's not a dynamic of X, Y, Z. I mean, the guys, if it's J-Mo, St. Brown, and Leaf out there, you feel that personnel can work within Ben's scheme and fit those roles.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you start talking about, Laporta's coming back. You got Gibbs. We got Demo. I mean, we'll be good there. I mean, when you said that, we trust all of those guys. And those 3, there's enough flexibility in those 3 receivers between Saint, J-Mo, and Leaf you can do what you need to do. It's just about, there we go. You just don't want to overload guys, that's all. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. And we'll be good.
All right, Dan Campbell, a coach who we know that we can trust on basically everything that he says. Real straight shooter. They have said previously, both Dan Campbell and offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, that Khalif Raymond is going to be a big part of their offense. Now, of course, that is relative, right? We know he's not going to be a Amon-Ra St. Brown. For them, a big part of the offense doesn't necessarily mean 1,000 yards, right? He's going to play a big role. He's going to play a big role as wide receiver 3. He says he's wide receiver 3 right now, and says there that they would rather not play Khalif Raymond 65 plays a game, but if they have to, they will. They're waiting for another guy to step up and say, hey, I can be a part of this mix. I can produce for this team. I can be about what the Detroit Lions are about, is getting in there and doing my job, executing the fine details of being a wide receiver and, just blocking, just being a good blocking wide receiver and a receiver who makes plays when the ball comes his way. They know that they can trust Khalif Raymond, but they also have said that they kind of want some bigger bodies out there in that wide receiver 3 spot too. They want guys with length and catch radius. So I know several people who have some Khalif Raymond bags in best ball. Might be able to get a usable week or two out of him, but yeah, they don't want him to be a full-time wide receiver 3. They want him to be on the field for about 25 plays a game or so, as Dan Campbell referenced there. But if nobody else steps up, which it seems like right now, no one has put a claim on that of being a guy that they just can't take off the field, well, then we'll see Khalif Raymond play a ton of snaps this year. Okie dokie. We have 4 clips from Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, and they're all about either Jahan Dotson or the wide receiver 2 spot. So we'll start off with this clip of Quinn talking about why Jahan Dotson played so many snaps in their preseason opener.
Hey, Dan, obviously the starters don't typically play a lot in the first game, and they didn't, but Jahan ended up playing, I think, more snaps than any other receivers. Just curious why, for him, did you feel that was good for him to do?
Yeah, I think we're right in the middle of that competition, at receiver and trying to find out slot and inside and outside, so moving guys into different locations. Ben, that's a big piece of it, and you'll see more of that this week as well with him and with some of the other receivers. We're really digging into that group, and it's a really competitive group to push it. So you'll see more of that same with his reps increased again this week.
Okay, in the middle of that competition at receiver, just kind of experimenting, see how guys fit at certain positions on the field. And we saw a good deal of Jahan Dotson in the slot, which is pretty good in a Cliff Kingsbury offense. Here is Dan Quinn on where he is at with the wide receiver 2 search.
Where are you at with the wide receiver 2 search?
I would say we are right in the middle of it. And so you'll see a lot of guys in today. You'll see 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of guys that are really battling. I've been really impressed with Olamide, and I thought he's had a really strong camp. Looking forward to getting Luke some extra work into here, Jahan, Diami. So that's where we're at, and then the special teams is going to have a factor in that as well.
Do you expect Jahan to play a similar volume of snaps as he did last week?
Probably. Yep, I would say I don't know if it'll be the exact same, but it'll be in the similar space, same high volumes on the other guys that I listed as well.
What would you like to see more or less of from him? I mean, just having come in new season with any new player, what would you like to see?
Yeah, I think with all the guys that we were talking about at that spot, the urgency, the run game, the pass game, so the quickness in and out of breaks. So not everybody plays the same spot, Nikki, but I do want to see with he and with all the other guys really finding some really competitive moments, that plays after the catch, the blocks, at the point of attack. Sometimes even in man-to-man during this phase of evaluation that he beat the person even though the ball didn't go to that spot. So I'm really trying to evaluate them with and without the ball.
Big emphasis there on receivers without the ball. Run blocking, really big. Dan Quinn has talked about yak or yards after the catch this entire offseason, talking about it with as it relates to every receiver, even Terry McLaurin. That was one of the big things that McLaurin wanted to work on this offseason was, how do I get more yak? And, yeah, Dan Quinn has been all about it. Here is Quinn again talking about wide receiver 2 and 3. And I believe there's a little bit of buzzing in this particular video. So if you have some sort of misophonia, man, the pronunciation is off the rails today. But if you don't like bees, maybe turn the volume down here.
Yeah, I know that's a narrative in here, but it's not as much with me. And so I wanted to be clear on that. I'm glad that you asked it because we're trying to feature all the things that players can do. And it's, easier because Terry's Terry and clear cut to where it goes. And a number of the other guys have really brought some nice attributes to the team. Like I love Jahan taking deep routes and in breakers, and I think you saw that in practice on the other day. And I felt Diami getting on top of people and being strong. I've seen, OZ working the slot, aggressive hand. So by that position and finding what players can do, that's our job to put them into that spot. But I don't see it as one person has to be into this space. I just want the guys to be absolutely flying and at their best and competing and playing with urgency. It's not about a number at a position. It's really about just the urgency, competitiveness, contested catches, route running, getting away from press coverage, beating man-to-man. Those are all the things that I look for. But it doesn't have to be a 1, a 2, a 3. It just has to be really consistent. And I like the group. They're fighting hard. I couldn't think of a better guy to work with than Bobby to help develop them. So we're going to keep finding the things that they can do and then try to hopefully feature them in those best ways.
It's a real mishmash. It's a potpourri of receivers in Washington. One more clip. Dan Quinn talking about the depth chart behind Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, so I know you guys were talking about that. We really do have some unique guys and some guys that are absolutely going for it. So what you were calling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of these players, will go in and have a role into it. It's been cool to see Luke following Olamide some. Preparation and processing and what does practice look like. And so to see Luke make some plays in the game, I was certainly happy with that. In the slot, you saw the one going down the seam. He's back there trying to return punts. Like, he's a relentless competitor, and it's one of the things I really admire about him. He's just always down for it. Yeah, you want me to return kick? I'll be the wing. I was like, no, you can't do them both. It's the same thing on punt return. You don't get to do both of those, So his just relentless ability to go after it, Ben, I think is going to make the player ascend as we're going. Diami and Jahan have, shown, some cool stuff for us. You feel Jahan's speed. I feel Diami get on top of people. So we got a number of people, but I don't necessarily, I'm not going to be boxed in and say, this is one, this is only this, this is only this. I was referring to, how do we utilize the players? Not everybody will have the same exact role. We got to try to find them and put them into the spaces of things they do well. By and large, what are you looking for at receivers of, contested catches, beating man-to-man? Those are things that you have to be able to do. And then the yards after the catch and the playmaking ability, those are things that you're looking for all the time. At the core, the urgency, the finish, those are the things that I'm looking for on a regular.
So we keep hearing the same stuff from Dan Quinn on what he wants and in a wide receiver and what he sees. He keeps saying that Diami Brown is so good at getting on top of guys. Cool. Pause, bro. Luke McCaffrey, relentless competitor, sees him ascending. Maybe a little post-by rookie bump for him. And Jahan Dotson with the speed and the deep routes that he mentioned. And we know that Dan Quinn is all about explosives, the deep game, and yak. Still have a candle lit for Jahan Dotson. He is... Well, and here's the thing. And any receiver that Matt Harmon of Reception Perception is in on, I'm just going to be in on that guy, okay? This is Matt Harmon's job, is charting wide receivers and telling you who is good. I believe their motto is telling you who's good before something. Before you know they're good or we see they're good, something like that. But he's a guru, he's a soothsayer, he's an oracle. That Matt Harmon. New York Jets. Here is head coach Robert Saleh on rookie Malachi Corley.
So Malachi, what's been really good is we all know what he can do with the ball in his hands, and we've been able to kind of manufacture some situations where he does get it, and he's as advertised when that ball's in his hands. And so he's been growing. Still a long way to go with his route running and understanding the same thing that Garrett went through, just being where he needs to be as fast as he can get there, and just fine-tuning his routes, his stems, his leverage, understanding leverage and how to create separation. But love his mindset. I love the way he works. It's very, very important to him, and he's going to be a really good player.
You guys used him as a returner in the first preseason game. Is that something he's done before? Like, I didn't see it in college.
Yeah, he's again a guy that we feel can be pretty damn good with the ball in his hands, and you know the punt return part we're trying to figure out. The kickoff return part, I think he can do that pretty easily. Big body, fast, strong, physical, especially with this new kickoff rule. But we're trying to just find different ways to get him the ball, and if it works out, great. If not, we'll look for other ways.
All right. One of the great parts of NFL training camp press conferences is that sometimes you will get drum lines in the background. You'll get some sort of marching band or kids screaming Puka, Puka, trying to get Puka Nakua's autograph. Pretty lively stuff. Yeah, with Malachi Corley still saying that he has a long way to go with his route running. Don't love to hear that, but a real weapon when the ball's in his hands. They're trying to find ways to get the ball in his hands, like Salah said there. And profiled as kind of a Rashee Rice-ish player coming out of college. Not a good contested catch guy. A really poor receiver in terms of contested catches. And, Corley not good at route running, as the head coach and general manager and everyone agrees on. But, could see a lot of just really short, average depth of target stuff, some screen merchant type stuff, and just trying to get him out in space with the ball in his hands. Not a terrible pick at where he's going in best ball right now on underdog. He's in the 180s range, so you can get him at the back of drafts and could have a pretty low floor, but could definitely also have some weeks where it just takes a couple catches and this guy can rip him off. Chicago Bears, here is head coach Matt Eberflus on rookie Rome Odunze.
You mentioned Rome on the end around. What do you guys like about him with the ball in his hands?
Just the speed. He's really fast. He's got really good speed. He's got a couple of different gears, and he's becoming a really good route runner. And he can track the deep ball. That's what he does. That's what he did in college. That's what he's doing here. So we're excited about him.
The vibes around Rome Odunze are perfecto right now, as they would say in Rome. Just incredible. Again, reception perception. This is one of the top 3 receivers that Matt Harmon has charted since Jamar Chase. It's Jamar Chase, Rome Odunze, and Marvin Harrison Jr. The work ethic with this kid is insane. We already know about that. And pretty damn good on the field. Really good route runner. Established a connection with rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was lobbying the Bears to draft Odunze, which they did. And, these two hit it off. It's showing in camp, showing on the field. I think some very big things are ahead for Odunze, and I believe we could see that transpire as soon as this season. When you look at these receivers who were taken in the top 9 of the draft here, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going at the end of the first round. Malik Neighbors, he is going at the 2-3 turn. And Rome Odunze, taken 9th overall, is going in the late 60s on Underdog. Like that quite a bit. And I know it's a crowded receiver room there, but Keenan Allen getting on up there in age, and he could be the one that finds himself in that Jackson Smith and Jigba role that we saw last year in Seattle in Shane Waldron's offense. Yeah, I like Odunze. Here's a real fun one. Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur talking about the pecking order of his wide receiver room.
Now we kept asking you about, do you need a number one receiver and stuff like that in the offseason? You guys have so much talent in that, especially in the top 4, but even beyond that. Where does Wicks fit into that picture?
I get I want to vomit every time I hear number one receiver, to be honest with you. It drives me crazy. That's something that you guys talk about. I feel like we got a bunch of them. So, but I think they're all kind of, I think the beauty of them is they're all capable of doing many things, which gives us a lot of versatility from an offensive perspective in terms of how we use these guys and deploy their talents. I think, especially those I would say top 4 guys, they're all capable of being a number one in some capacity, and it's just how do we want to attack somebody and where do we want to put those guys, and it allows us, who's going to get the ball? I don't know. It could change on a week-to-week basis. We saw it last year. And then we have Bo Belton come in and be our first 100-yard receiver versus Minnesota. So I think it just, again, it frees us up in terms of just from an offensive standpoint and how we attack people.
I don't want you vomiting, but
okay. Appreciate that.
I wasn't asking about number one. What I was driving at is that exact issue. Is you got 4 guys, and 5 through 8, there's some pretty damn good guys there too. But what's the challenge for you as you choose personnel groups, as you pick and choose, how you get a guy? Like there's times when Wicks gets the fewest snaps of those 4 with the ones, and then you see what he did on Sunday.
He only got 1 snap the other day, and he made a hell of a play. So, I just, that could be tough. Maybe we'll be a 10 personnel team. Who knows?
Maybe we'll be a 10 personnel team. I love it. That's so funny. Matt LaFleur let me read you this quote from July 24th from LaFleur. Because there is a real theme here in the wide receiver room, the running back room, everywhere on offense. July 24th. I think the beauty of our core, this is the receiving core, was you just never know who that's going to be each and every week. It seems like a new guy is the focal point, and I think that just gives us a lot of flexibility on offense and keeps defenses a little bit more on their heels. So, yeah, we should not expect things to change here. It's not a perfect situation for fantasy football, but Matt LaFleur doesn't care about that. He has 4 really good wide receivers or 4 dangerous wide receivers and, 2 really good tight ends. That's a perfect situation for him of rolling these guys out there with Jordan Love and while they might not have a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or whatever, they have very, very talented pass catchers where you have to pick your poison with these guys. So the defenses don't know who to key in on. You have multiple guys that can go out there and win on the field, and then Jordan Love just picks the one that's the most open on a play. Yeah, redraft, this is going to be an absolute nightmare trying to pick the right guy each week at receiver or even at tight end. A little bit easier with Jordan Love just being the syrup that's going on all these pancakes. He should get his on a weekly basis for an offense that's going to be really, really just kind of a steamroller this year. I will say, as far as the receivers are concerned, there are two that really stand out to me. That's Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. Both just terrific in multiple ways. Not guys that just do one thing well, but they're good route runners. Jaden Reed is dangerous on coming out of the backfield and in motion, and they're both just top tier-ish receivers. Jaden Reed obviously going the earliest in drafts. Dontavian Wicks going the latest out of those four, between those two, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. If there is a guy that can emerge as a sort of unquestioned wide receiver one this year for the Packers, I really do think it's Dontavian Wicks. This is someone who's just so smooth with his route running. Good hands. They said that, they've been saying that at training camp, he is just open every single time, just constantly open. I mean, this guy is a technician when it comes to route running and separation. And if he is just showing that every single time he goes out on the field for them, how do you keep that off the field? I understand the whole rotation and getting guys in and out and different looks and all that stuff that Matt LaFleur wants to do. But if Dontavian Wicks takes this year 2 leap that the team, beat reporters, and analysts have been talking about, Matt LaFleur talking about or comparing him to Devontae Adams last season in terms of how high the ceiling is for Dontavian Wicks. It's a scenario that we don't expect, right? It's because we didn't see it last year, and oh man, they don't play Wicks enough snaps, and then just expecting that that's going to continue to happen. If a guy goes out there and just dominates and shows, hey, you'd be a real idiot to keep me off the field, then maybe he sees some more time there. And even if it is limited snaps or limited in terms of what we think he should be getting or what we want him to get, he's the cheapest wide receiver, best ball, redraft, whatever. He's the cheapest wide receiver. And just efficient with his targets. I think he's a good bet. I think he's a pretty good bet. We will definitely get some good spike weeks out of Dontavian Wicks. So yeah, like him a lot in Green Bay. Los Angeles Rams. Here is offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur talking about rookie wide receiver Jordan Whittington.
What did you think of the way Jordan played in that first preseason year?
Yeah, like a man. Again, it was tackle football. Jordan Whittington is a guy that from high school, being a Wildcat quarterback, having just 1,000,000 yards in a state championship game, to what he did in college with a really loaded roster, and then to what we've seen since he's been here. We knew. We felt pretty confident that when the pads got on and it was real football, he was going to even be a bigger problem, and I think that showed. And he's got a long way to go. He's a kid that's really confident, and the teammates are pretty confident in him as well.
A couple more guys.
When a young guy like that shows ostensibly that he can play at this level, do you pull back as the preseason goes on with him if he's a guy that is going to be part of that receiver?
You're speaking
rotation?
of Whittington?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's still conversations we're going to have, because again, as valuable as the preseason is in those games when it's real and coaches are off the field, these practices are equally as important to us, because we're trying some things more. There's more movement and stuff like that. That's more like our offense, obviously. So, all those discussions will always be fluid. It can change day to day. It can change based on who's available, who's not available. So, we'll keep it going from there.
So Whittington played in this week 2 preseason game, which was after these comments. But the fact that the Rams were having conversations about whether they need to put Jordan Whittington kind of in bubble wrap on the shelf, whatever term you want to assign to it. I mean, that's really big because they don't play their starters. They don't play their like really important guys in the preseason, as we know with Sean McVay. And McVay last week talking about Jordan Whittington, talking about how mature he is and saying that he is going to be a factor for us. I mean, arrow is really pointing up on Whittington right now. And, I mean, you combine what they're saying with just the plain old eye test. He looked pretty Puka Nacua-ish out there. Now, it's not saying he's going to be Puka Nacua, but, I mean, he looked good out there on the field. And Demarcus Robinson is their wide receiver 3. But there are multiple paths to Jordan Whittington seeing the field in 2024. You've got Cooper Kupp, older receiver, injury history. Puka Nacua, who I'm not worried about this current injury with a bursa sack thing. He's going to be fine. He'll play week 1, but he does play with a very aggressive style, and he seeks contact, and this is something he's just always done. And he has this rough injury history from college, and he got nicks and bruises last year playing as well. Just a very physical style of playing. And then Demarcus Robinson, another older receiver, but Whittington is going to get into the mix. And same sort of thing with, Dontavian Wicks that we were talking about, or, the same thing that we saw with Puka last year, where Puka got onto the field because of this Cooper Kupp injury, and then they just couldn't take him off the field. He showed, hey, I'm a star. I'm a star receiver. Congrats on picking me on day 3, because you just got yourself a gem here. And they just couldn't take him off the field, and now he's going at the end of the first round in fantasy drafts. So not saying that the same thing is going to happen with Whittington, but this guy has outs to getting onto the field in 24 and playing significant snaps. So you have the injury contingent upside, and then if we just see, hey, this guy is much better than Demarcus Robinson, McVay's a sharp guy. He's going to play his best players. All righty. Tight ends. Got one clip for you here. This is Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel on what Jonnu Smith brings to the offense.
You used Jonnu in a bunch of ways tonight. What does he bring to your offense?
It was cool to have him out there. I think he brings physicality and a guy that really enjoys having the football in his hands and can do some really cool stuff with that. I think there's times when your offense is clicking that defenses will really just try to defend space and really the field is expanded, so to speak, with where defenders are defending. In those situations, having fast, aggressive playmakers with the ball in their hands, they can take advantage of those types of things. So I think he's a great addition to our team, and I think there's a multitude of ways that you can use players, and he's no exception.
McDaniel previously called Jonnu Smith a master of yak and also warned us, hey, don't look at our past usage of tight ends in this offense and think that that is just going to continue on to this year where we don't really use those guys that much. Really like Jonnu Smith as a late round tight end in best ball. There's a chance he becomes. There's a chance. All right, guys, hear me out. There is a chance that he is startable in redraft. Probably won't happen, but I do think we will absolutely see spike weeks from Jonnu Smith. Love him as part of a 3 tight end build in best ball where, I mean, there's just a lot of combos that he fits nicely into. Could do Dallas Goedert, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, or I mean, there's just a lot of combos that he works well in, and you can even pair him up with an elite tight end like a Mark Andrews, and have a nice tight end room there. Don't sleep on Jonnu, and don't sleep on a Mike McDaniel offense. He is going to get the best out of his guys, and Jonnu is just a talented pass-catching tight end. Alrighty. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to read you some nice little nuggets here that I did not tweet out from the Coach Speak Index account at Coach Speak on Twitter. Tweet out a lot of, videos and stuff there, a lot of Coach Speak there. But there's just so much. There's 40 hours of press conferences per week from head coaches, offensive coordinators, general managers, and I just can't get everything out online. What I do is I keep notes while I'm watching the press conferences. Anything that's important, I write that down, and then I put it into the Coach Speak Index Discord. And I'm just going to read you off a sampling of these notes from this past week. And you really are missing out on crucial information if you are not in there. Also have my rankings in the Discord, and people are free to ask questions, discuss players. You can DM me on there. A lot of people DM me about, the home leagues that they're in and just different formats and approaches and certain players. I'm very accessible. I'm busy, but I'm accessible. I recognize the importance of being accessible and staying connected, and I'm just want to help. Just want to help you win your leagues. I'll run down these real quick. You can find all this kind of stuff in the private Discord, and you can find the link to that in our bio on Twitter at Coach Speak Index, or you can just Google Coach Speak Index Patreon. The Discord is connected to the Patreon. All right, that's enough of that. Here are some of these nuggets. Arizona head coach Jonathan Gannon on running back Trey Benson said, thought he played well, thought he put the ball where it needed to go, broke some tackles, had some explosive runs in there. He did a good job. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy says that their running back room is to be determined. Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans said it's a tight competition in the running back room, and he is excited to see more behind Joe Mixon there. Colts head coach Shane Steichen says, the best players I've been around, they've got a natural feel. And then he said that Anthony Richardson has been showing a lot of that so far in camp. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni said, we'll see if we keep doing the tush push, not giving anything away until we go on the field week 1, and said that former center Jason Kelce was just one piece of that puzzle. So just because Kelce's gone doesn't mean that they're going to stop doing it. Saints head coach Dennis Allen says that Taysom Hill is going to factor into a lot of aspects of what we're doing offensively. I think he's a good weapon for us to be able to utilize, and so we'll have to find what ways we can put him in the best position to help us play good offense and help us win games. We've seen a ton of usage for Taysom Hill in the preseason, all over the place. Seen him out wide in the backfield, just everywhere. Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo says that rookie quarterback Drake May is absolutely getting better. He's exhibiting hard work and dedication to his craft. He arrives early and leaves late. And Mayo said that we have to be flexible in regards to the development plan. Right now, it's going the right way. Finally, Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles, talking about rookie wide receiver Jalen McMillan, said, I've seen everything I need to see out of him. He's exactly what we thought he was when we drafted him. And we have been hyping up Jalen McMillan for months now, ever since the Bucs have been speaking glowingly about him shortly after the NFL draft. So that is just a sampling of what you can find in the private Coach Speak Index Discord. Get over there if you want an edge this fantasy football season. Check us out on Twitter at Coach Speak Index. And, if you could find it within your heart, this not quite yet holiday season, it doesn't have to be Christmas for you to be ungrinchified. But here's what you do. All right, I got it. If you have not subscribed yet to the Coach Speak Index YouTube, hover that finger above the subscribe button, right? And just lower it, and just like that, click and say banger time. And that's going to give you just such a good feeling. Yell it as loudly as you can. Go to the most crowded place where you live. Subscribe to the Coach Speak Index YouTube and yell banger time. And have someone record a video of you doing that and send it in. I will get a good kick out of that. And you'll be subscribed to the Coach Speak Index YouTube and have all this information at your disposal. Again, get into the private Discord. Go check out Underdog Fantasy. Promo code CoachSpeak. All right. Banger time show episode, guys. Can we label it that? Pretty good episode. Feel like a lot of good info out there. All right, that's it. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you next time. Sarah, take us out.